So this is something that's pretty funny that we're going to be looking at here. Now, I'm sure you guys know who Sargon of Akkad is. He's a YouTuber who does anti-social justice warrior videos. He makes videos talking about SJWs, mostly about things like, things that come up often are race and gender, and so he makes his points, and he, debunks things or tries to debunk things that he doesn't agree with. Now, we're going to be looking at something really, really interesting here. So, there is a claim that is made by Sargon that hasn't been made on just one occasion, but it's legitimately been made on multiple occasions. Now, you guys are going to see this string of different times that he actually made this claim, but he claimed that his grandfather was black. Let's see what he says.
That's I hate to use this word, but that is a form of privilege in itself, right? To be able to say my timeline, I don't have anything, a high watermark in my family history that I have to actually look back and observe and study and understand.
Well, you'd be surprised actually. My dad isn't white.
Mm-hmm.
So my granddad wasn't white, and he was a black man in the 60s who married my white grandmother. And my father is his son, his oldest son, and then I'm my father's oldest son. So, okay, I might look quite white, but if you would see a sort of a genealogy of my family, it's not. My granddad wasn't white, and he was a black man in the 60s who married my white grandmother.
Tell me if this is invasive or anything, but I watched Alt Hype's video today, and he made the argument that you are not being completely honest, that you are part black.
Did he declare me to be a fucking white male?
He may have done. He may have attempted to sully you with the complete serving of white privilege.
You're not a real quadroon. Oh no! The thing is, right? It's not true. My grandfather. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. He was from the island of Saint Helena, which is off the west coast of Africa. It's where Napoleon went into exile. I think he died there as well, actually. I don't know what race he actually was, because it was never something I really cared about. And he was a very dark-skinned man, but I don't think he was sub-Saharan because he had straight hair. But if you see my dad, he's actually got remarkably pale skin at the moment because he doesn't really go out in the sun much. But when he was younger, he used to go out in the sun quite a lot, and he was really dark. But he's also got straight black hair, and white people don't have black hair. White people have got, dark brown hair, but not black. And so, I never really thought about it, because I don't care. But yeah,
so what you're saying is
definitely non-white, and
so you're not 1/8. You're not 1/8 like super nigger. You're just 1/8 somewhat black.
Yeah, well, I don't even know what it is. Like, I don't know, West Indian or something maybe.
Yeah,
I just don't know. I don't know what race he actually was. My granddad wasn't white, and he was a black man in the 60s who married my white grandmother. And it's very interesting, and I love this. Listen to this. The tricky thing is that even if his grandfather was actually himself only a quarter black, he'd still refer to him as black. My grandfather wasn't a quarter black. He was fully black. So who the hell knows how much black DNA he actually has? I went in this alt-right hangout, and, there were like 8 of them and me, and my grandfather's black on my dad's side. And so they already had this kind of hostile disposition towards me. So I just fucking went in and was just whatever. My dad isn't white. So my granddad wasn't white, and he was a black man in the 60s who married my white grandmother. I don't know what race he actually was because it was never something I really cared about. I mean, he was a very dark-skinned man, but I don't think he was sub-Saharan. I never really thought about it, because I don't care. I don't know, West Indian or something maybe.
Yeah.
I just don't know. My grandfather wasn't a quarter black. He was fully black.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, with a bit of practice, that could be good fun, couldn't it?
Could it?
Oh, it is a lot of fun.
Once you get to know what the buttons are.
Yeah, that'll be my thing, definitely.
And remember to hold on to the buttons and...
Alright, so let me just see how...
Button?
Right.
Or you can press forward as well, that'll do it.
Is that it?
Yep. No, the bottom one.
So I really have to say, man, that's just a hilarious thing to claim. And as you guys just saw too, there's a video that Sargon has posted on his channel showing his parents using VR for the first time. And really quickly, I want to say that VR is insanely dope. I actually tried it at a mall one time. It was pretty sick, so I recommend you try it if you haven't tried it yet. But anyways, back to the subject at hand. This is really more of like a sort of, I would say, a trivial / ethical issue, as I just don't understand what the need was to make the claim, especially on numerous different occasions, that your grandfather was black. Because we, first of all, I mean, we see the footage of your parents. There doesn't seem to be a trace of blackness within your family. I mean, there doesn't seem to be a trace of blackness from your grandfather. There would at least be some distinguishableness between, your dad. We would be able to see your dad have some darker skin, or you have some darker skin. So it doesn't make sense. But we didn't even really need to necessarily even look at that, because he essentially backtracks his own claim in the first place. But what I did want to say is really hilarious to me is that he actually, the way he phrases it is really funny, because he goes, my grandfather was a black man in the 60s, which is like, what the fuck? Well, I just don't understand what that even means. He was a black man in the 60s. Like, dog, he's either always been black, or I don't know what that means. Do races change by decade? I really honestly don't know. It's just a weird way of putting it all together, but that sort of made it for a butt of jokes, no doubt. But it's just a really weird claim to make. But again, like I said, he already went back and he sort of backtracked it into saying, I don't really know. I don't really know what race he is. I don't know what exactly he is. So he claimed he was black, which is pretty much damn clear that he was BSing on that. But what I just don't understand is, what was the need? Like, what was the need to actually make the claim? Like, why claim that your grandfather was black if he's not black? I find that to be, number one, I find it to be unethical to some degree. To what degree, I'm not exactly sure. But I also find it to be something that is trivial, in the sense that it doesn't have that big of an effect on anything. So why do it? I don't really understand why he decided to do that. But basically, on that video that he posted talking about his parents doing virtual reality for the first time, there were a bunch of people commenting like, okay, so your dad's dad is black when your dad is white as fuck. And he says, yep, look how dark his hair is? What? And then I was like, what the fuck? Doesn't make sense. I don't know, does he consider people to be black based on their hair color? So if your hair's black, you're black? Do you have a trace of blackness if your hair is black? It just doesn't make sense. And then he hearted someone's comment saying he looks half Indian, quote unquote black, not African to me. Not that it matters. And it's just like, all right, so he's very conscious and aware. He's cognizant of the fact that people know about, what he has been doing in terms of sort of scheming and trying to lie about this. And I just have to reiterate, because there was no need for this. What was the purpose of lying about your grandfather being black? Like, did you really need that in your conversation with Ben Dixon and talking? I don't even know who he was talking to. Oh, one thing, actually, I'm glad I remember this. To act as if you were victimized by, and it's the alt-right is shitty, obviously, but to act as if you're victimized, but like the alt-right doesn't like you because your grandfather was black. You think that's why? That's why they don't like you? No one can even tell. If they hadn't seen those clips, there's no way anyone can tell that you're in the slightest have any black lineage, dude. But it's very clear that this just isn't the case. And it's really, honestly, irrelevant whether or not your grandfather's black. So I don't understand what the need was to make shit up and just lie about it. I find it unethical. To what degree? I have no clue. But again, I just find it trivial. There was no need to claim that your grandfather was black. And he says he was black in the 60s. Like, what does that mean he was black in the 60s? Did he turn black in 65 when he was white in 55? I don't... What the fuck does that mean, dude?